G'day, hi, and welcome. Today we are going to talk about the case of the evil impeller. Dun, dun, dun. Or not. First off, what I want to show you here is this is where the impeller is, okay, which is going to be in there. And what happens is there's a little hose. They don't really have the hose in here, but there's a little hose on the far side here. And water comes in these intakes right here, fills up, and then as the impeller turns, it sucks it up, puts it through the tube, then it goes all through all the cooling system and into the exhaust and out through the exhaust port on the other side. You have a gear shifter here, and you have another little reservoir here that holds oil to keep the gears lubricated, etc., etc. You have a corrosion plate here, which I didn't know what it was at first, but it's actually this thing here. I thought it was a piece of lead, but it's not. It's a giant piece of zinc. And what that's about is best not to handle this stuff with your bare hands, because zinc, lead, stuff like that's not really good for you. But what it does is you get, I think it's anodization is probably between different metals, and the zinc, I guess, it makes it so that stuff doesn't stick to the aluminium. That's my understanding of the concept of it. But these holes can still get plugged. So let me tell you what's been happening with the boat. Which, hang on, wait for it. If you look between the trees, you can see a boat. Okay, that's the random. Okay, so that's my Hughes 26. This is the impeller, or the shaft of the for the inboard. It's basically Volvo Penta 50. That's the bottom. It's not sail drive. It's a Volvo Penta 50, which is similar to a sail drive, but just it's a Volvo Penta 50 M2, I think. And this is pretty much original equipment that came with that boat. Now I'm going to show you the impeller. The impeller. Make sure when you take things out, okay, you take them out, you put them back the way they is. Now there's a lot of crud here where the impeller was. I don't know what that is. Hopefully that's not pieces of the impeller, but it could very well be. There's a little key here, a magnetic key. Do not lose the magnetic key. It fits in a slot. Got to watch out. I'll pull it out so you can see. There's just a little key like that. There's a little hole right there. I came upstairs because it was more light. It's still dark in here. But that little key, don't lose that. So we'll put that aside. But when you take things apart, okay, put them back and take them out the way you want. This was this is basically the top up, so it was like this when I took it out and I put it down like that. But the impeller itself, there's corrosion on it. It does appear to be a little bit of damage on it, but not that bad, but a little bit. So probably does need to be replaced. Now the thing is it's still in a condition where it would work. I can tell you that I know it would work. It wouldn't work properly. They're about, they can depending on your boat, on a little thing like this, I think they're like about $26. But keep your old one, because you may have a real pain in the ass finding a new one. You can't just say, I have a Volvo Penta 50 and I need an impeller for it. They'll be like, that doesn't tell me anything, sir. And I'm speaking from experience. It's take your old one, try to figure out what it was. Virtually, if it fits, you can usually get away with it. Not all the time. But this is the inside of the, I guess you would say, you can see like right here how it goes. So this part goes up into the motor or the engine. And then what it does is it shoots all kinds of water up through there, through the coolant, and it keeps the engine cool. And it sucks it in through here. And obviously here, the main shaft, I'll just show like so. So it looks like that. So you got, basically the water fills in here. And once that floods, it gets sucked up in here, into here, and then up through, pressured up through here via the impeller. And there was also that little washer, so make sure I don't lose that. This one I believe came off here. I don't know what happened with that one. I'll have to see if I can find another washer. Probably have to get something heat resistant and make sure that quiet you. No bark. You don't hear the cats barking. Anyway, it's It's my aunt's birthday, and my dad locked her in the house so he could make a getaway, and she's not very happy. So anyway, dog who's training her. So anyway, the bottom line is, when I park the boat, I've always had problems with the. Well, we'll look before we get into that. Hang on, you'll see when the impeller's in there. You can see there's your channel. So you've got an intake and you've got an exhaust. So this side is the exhaust right here. That's your intake here. Now, when I did all this, okay, when I bought the boat, it had, right from day one, it had problems. Now, the guy that worked on the boat last, I know him very well. He was a good friend. I worked with him launching boats. What you looking at me like that for? You ain't going outside. Oh, now she's upset with me. Sorry, you're in doggy jail right now. But anyway, what ends up happening is he said, "Quiet you. Okay, go on, go back to go lie down. Yeah, go do that stuff. Or I'll pet you then, whatever." Sorry, must pay the dog tax. Anyway, Doug and I were talking. He's like, yeah, you bought that boat? Yeah. I said, I did all kinds of work on that boat. He says, we replaced the impeller in it. The impeller's fine. Should be good to go. But on my maiden voyage, there was steam coming out of the cabin where the inboard was, and I couldn't figure it out. At first, I thought I just had the cockpit, the drain cock closed. Basically, you can close this. The reason why you do this is so that if your boat is just sitting there and there's a leak somewhere, hypothetically, that this shuts it off so that the water can't come up through the boat and accidentally sink your boat. So you can shut this off, whatever. Most people, they turn them on, they leave them on. If you forget this thing off, what happens is the water can't come up through the heads, and you'll cook the top end. But the engine would run, and it just wouldn't suck up water. So my first suspect was the impeller, but because it was so expensive it didn't cost me anything to launch my boat, I worked it off. Basically, the deal was, and I got paid to do it. I basically got paid to launch my own boat. It was awesome. But basically, I'd help Doug launch boats, $20 a piece, and I don't know what he was charging, like a couple $100, but he just needed a spare hand there. We launched, I don't know how many boats a day. When it came to my boat, we threw it in the water. It was part of the deal. He's like, yeah, just keep helping me. I'll still pay you, but we'll put your boat in the water. It's just it won't be priority. But it still got in there earlier than most people. So when I started it up, I was halfway around the docks getting to my slip, and all of a sudden I started getting, seeing steam come out, and I was like, uh-oh, my impellers, because it was my first time. I figured, when I looked at the back, I was like, well, the water's not really coming out, so I don't know what's going on. There was a little bit of water coming out of the back, but not very much. So I figured, okay, well, maybe that was just stuff in the system, whatever, and it'll take a minute or two for it to come out. But by that time, I'll be at my slip anyway. But it didn't work out like that. So his better half was going to, because it was my first time taking that boat to a dock by myself, basically she was just basically going to be the linesman to help me tie up at the dock. So I had to kind of bring the boat in quick because there was steam coming out of smoke coming out of the cabin, and I thought, oh my God, I don't want this thing to overheat or melt the engine or take on fire. So we'll just say it was a rough landing, not the worst, but so she must have thought this guy doesn't know how to handle a boat at all, but it scared her a bit. But I got it to the dock, shut her down, and then I tried to figure out what was going on, and lo and behold, 2 days later, I figured out there was just no water coming out the back whatsoever. So my first suspect was the impeller was done. But Doug was like, no, we just replaced the impeller in that. It was running fine. There's no problem with it. So it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, I believe Doug. I mean, I've seen the work he done, and, he had no reason to lie. So I figured something else. So then I tried this thing here. There was a mark on it. Maybe it wasn't lined up right. So I lined it up, and sure enough, it still didn't work. So for about 2 years, I didn't know how to get this thing getting water through it. Now, last year I ran up the engine. The engine runs fine. I tried to get water to go through. I plugged this up, and it still wasn't sucking up water. So, and I know last year when I checked it, the impeller was still pretty good. I think I fried it out the last time I tried it, maybe a little bit. It would get you out of a pinch, but it's probably done. But I've seen worse. So what's going on? And then it dawned to me, okay, well maybe I just couldn't get enough suction between here, but I had these underwater with the flushing system, the flushing system on it. So that meant the water had to be filling up. Then it dawned on me just the other day, because I've been waiting a week or two to. No, Goof, you can't go out. Okay, look out, look out, look out, look out, look out, look out, look out. Come on, hurry up, Missy. Hurry up. Come on. Hurry up. Let's go. Come on. Today. You're ruining the video. Come on. You're homeless now. Anyway. They run to the door and they just stand there. So anyway, long story short, which is always a long story, but I just want to tell you my story and then I'll maybe do another take of this. I was looking at it and I was like, okay, so the water comes in here. I thought there was some sort of corrosion plate or suction under here maybe. But I said, no, when I took it off, it's like, it's just this big chunk of zinc. That's all it is. Okay, so what does this do? Okay, it's the anti-corrosion plate. Water still coming in here. So the water has to be sucked up from here. So I looked at this and then it was just glaringly obvious to me. Well, we'll see if it's glaringly obvious to you. So this is neoprene hose. Transparent neoprene hose. Can you see it? Let's see if we can get out into the light a bit more. I wonder why this thing wasn't sucking up any water. It's completely clogged, but even worse, the end is not only clogged, but it looks like it's burnt. I just can't get good lighting anywhere. Look at that. Now, this is probably as old as the boat itself, so it's probably, from 1980 or whatever. So that is completely clogged. No wonder I couldn't get any water, get anything through the impellers. So, what I'm going to do is, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to test it. But basically, this hose needs to be replaced. All this story for that. But I thought I'd give you the whole story. I'll leave it at that. And I will basically, in a nutshell, do a short how-to watch out for video. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. So look at that thing. You can even see the crud in there. There's like, I don't know what it's clogged with. Maybe what my suspect is this. There's some debris got sucked up through here, which can happen. Got into here, and then cut it off enough so that when this got hot, it melted that. Got sucked up into here. Could be, I don't know, weeds, whatever. Got sucked up into here, just enough to clog it, so when it gets hot, it melts. And now no water goes through. But what was weird was water was coming out, draining out through, not this, because I would take this off, and the whole, when I tried to flush the system coming the other way, sticking a garden hose in the back of the exhaust, the very, very back of the boat, the water was coming out where this would go in. So I was like, okay, well, I know there's nothing clogging the cooling tubes in the engine, thank God. And I blew them out with airlines, but I never thought of this stupid little rubber tube. And it only dawned on me today when I saw it. I was just like, it's like, it's something in there that's the problem. So now what I've got to do, okay, is, I guess in a nutshell, is just clean it up, put her back together for now until I can go and get another impeller, which is something that I'm going to have to do, and maybe get some new gaskets while I'm at it. So I'll put that stuff in a bag, mark it off for what it is. We'll probably, just for the giggles of it, even though these things are symmetrical, I will write top on here and a bottom on here, and just so I know, and then I can do the same thing when I go by it. But I'll clean all this up, make sure all the channels, replace this. This is just like, oh, be quiet, you. Really, really hard rubber hose. I'm wondering if I could replace this with stainless steel, because we've got stainless steel here. The only thing I guess for this though is that the good news is that you can see if it's clogged or not. But I'm going to get the air, blow it out. Maybe I can resurrect this thing again, but maybe not. I'll see if I can unclog it. If I can unclog it, if I can unclog that, then it'll be okay. All right, there we go. So that's the mystery of why my boat does not suck up water. There we go.